Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. It's been a while, hasn't it, Charlie?
It's been way too long. Way too long.
A little bit of a different format here as we are obviously not live and this is not after a game. The one thing about being on our own channel now for Game Over is that we can kind of just do whatever we want, and since it's the off season, we can cover the team's off season moves as much as we like. So, gonna do a bit of an off season preview here for you guys. If you're new to the channel, Game Over Ottawa, I'm Maud, that's Charlie, your co-hosts for this channel. Pretty much we do Sens post-game recaps, just have a fun, friendly environment to either enjoy the game that we just watched or completely rant about it, considering how the Sens recent seasons have gone. But yeah, again, since we're on our new channel now, we have a lot more freedom. Gonna be doing some other types of content too, like off-season stuff here.
Yeah, might mean that we won't have to do like an hour and a half long first episode of the season like we did this
Yep.
past year. It might be a bit more streamlined this way. If there's any big moves, we can just kind of talk about it whenever they happen instead of, talking about a trade they make on July 6th in October. So it gives us a little bit more wiggle room to get that out of the way first before everyone's tired of thinking about it by the time we get to talk about it. So,
Yeah, I think at
yeah.
the start of last season, we had to just talk about the DeBrincat trade like 3 months late, right when the season started. It was
Yeah,
just like, hey, by the way, that guy's gone now, and we have to we have to
yeah.
deal with the outcome of it like 3 months later. But now we can give you instant reaction to the moves that the Sens make this offseason, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually having a place to talk about stuff in the off season because it just kind of feels like if you're just like on Twitter, it just kind of feels like you're just kind of tweeting into the void and everyone's saying the exact same thing. And at least this way it feels like, and I don't know. I prefer the actual discussions that we can have versus just throwing your opinion online and seeing if anyone says anything about it. But yeah, really looking forward to the opportunity to just basically do whatever we want for the whole off season within reason. We don't want to, within reason. We're not gonna do too much, I don't think. But
Hmm.
um,
And when the
yeah,
season starts, we will be returning to our classic live format right after the games. I believe we need 50 subscribers on YouTube to unlock the live streaming capability, and right now we're just below there. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We would really appreciate it. We're very close to unlocking that threshold, and of course, just starting from scratch on a new channel, any subscriptions would be much appreciated.
yeah. And if you're a previous viewer of ours from back in the day, and you are just now finding out that we're back. That seems to be the case with a lot of people. So if you are just finding us again, and you know someone who has also enjoyed the show previously in the past couple of years, let them know we're back. Let everybody know we're back. Let's get those subscriber numbers up, and we can go back to our what I call group therapy after Sens games. Because again, and if you are new here, just like Mod said, it's a live show afterwards from all the games, every single game. There's a live show after every single game, and we can all complain together. And it's actually like a very like great experience. It kind of I get really worked up and then it calms me down. So yeah, that's tell your friends is what I'm trying to say, very
Hmm.
long-windedly.
What's that gift that's like, I want you to let them know that we back up?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that situation right there. If you've enjoyed the show previously, please share this around and let everyone know that we will be back for the 2024-25 Ottawa Senators season, regular season, and hopefully playoffs too. But who knows? How I feel about that is definitely going to hinge on how the off season goes, which is what we're going to be discussing a little bit here today and in some future videos as well. We're going to kind of spread this out a little bit before the draft, leading up to the draft, kind of doing a bit of a preview of the off season, basically what we are expecting of the team and what we hope that the team does this summer. The new management, of course, Steve Staios hasn't really made any big splashes yet, just a small move like moving out Tarasenko. I think was pretty much the only thing he's done. Which was a bit of an easy trade to make, considering Tarasenko only wanted to go to Florida, but it's going to be really interesting to see Steos put his own stamp on the team this summer, and it's all going to start with the draft, which is what we're going to be discussing here today. Seventh overall pick, Charlie. How are you feeling about where the Sens ended up in the draft lottery? Basically, not moving at all.
could have been worse. I think that's the bottom line is it could have been worse. Um, it'll be nice to see them actually use, fingers crossed, use a top first round pick instead of trading it away for the third time in a row. Let's hope
Yeah,
that
oh
they use
God.
it this time. Um, there's no way they don't use it though. I don't think this pick's going anywhere unless they find a package to move up, if anything. But I don't think they're getting rid of it.
The one possible scenario that I could see in terms of moving away from the seventh pick is if Calgary desperately wants TJ Ginla and they think that moving up from ninth to seventh could help them accomplish that. Especially with there was a recent rumor that the Sens would be very interested in Ginla. I do wonder if that could be a little bit of bait for Calgary, being like, oh, you know what, we'll just pick Ginla unless you give us something good to move up 2 spots to number 7, right? I do wonder. That's probably the only scenario I could see us not using the seventh pick.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like, does Iginla even make it to seven? Is the question, right?
That's the question too.
So I don't know. And cards on the table, I have not done nearly enough research on this draft class. Like, um, I think the last couple of years of the Sens just trading away their first has just kind of killed my excitement for the draft.
Yeah.
So the last few years, I just have not been doing nearly as deep of a dive as I'd like to. Um, so outside of like the players that are in the Sens range for their first pick anyway, because I also have Boston's pick later on. Um, I'm just not super up on, like who's going to be a great third round steal. I have no idea. So
Hmm.
it's just one of those things where, yeah. So obviously, like, I think, we can talk about the first round at the very least for this episode. But if anyone watching has some great, low pick ideas, feel free to share them with us in the comments because would love to know which 5'7" player is going to be super undervalued going into the draft this year. Not that,
There's
and who
always
knows, maybe,
someone.
yeah. Do you think the Sens management now doesn't care about size? Probably, I
I
don't know. I
wonder.
don't know. They all care about size.
Yeah, it's just the hockey cliche, right? Even if there aren't really any teams that you can say, oh, specifically they don't care about size. It's usually just like occasionally one small guy will break through, and then the team that
Yeah.
drafted him or gave him the chance will get the huge credit for it. But then it's not like there's a team that specifically is always like, oh, we really don't care about size. Maybe Kyle Dubas with his drafting with the Maple Leafs, but most of that didn't turn out too well. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, first thought goes to Montreal, but that's also just purely because of well, I don't know actually. Now that I think about it, because like I don't know, because when you think of Montreal and you think of like up front, actually I don't know how big Suzuki is. I don't know if he's big or not. I should know that.
I think he's like
But
about 6 foot, maybe a little bit less.
let me double check on this because there's also another thing to keep in mind as well is I mean, Montreal also has different management now than when Caulfield was drafted, so that's probably a stupid point to make. So I have no idea. Anyway, um, yeah, I made like one little comment, and now I'm like digging a hole about Suzuki is 5'11", so yeah,
Okay,
never
I
mind.
was almost right on the
Doesn't
money.
matter.
A little
It
bit less
doesn't
than six
matter.
foot.
Yeah,
But
it
yeah,
doesn't matter. I'm already throwing. We're in mid-season form right now. I'm completely derailing every conversation we're trying to
we
have.
love our tangents on this show. We love going off on just the random things that come into our brains. And then we have to fact check ourselves too, is the thing. We have to fact
Yeah,
check everything.
yeah.
But yeah, in terms of seventh overall, are you thinking that the Sens need to be considering position or organizational need in terms of position at all? Or are you purely best player available in terms of draft philosophy?
At seven, I'm purely best player. I mean, partially because I do think that the Sens have some really strong talent up front at every position currently, but also because anyone you pick at seven, there aren't too many seventh overall picks that make the league in the first couple of years after they're drafted.
Yeah.
So at that point, if you're drafting for a position, you're going to be drafting for a role that ideally you're going to want to fill later on in the offseason for this year, if not in the next 2 years at the very least, I'd hope. So yeah, at seven, I don't know about you. I'm purely best player available.
I
Honestly,
think
I think I'm probably just that way for the whole draft, to be
mhm.
honest with you.
I think I am too. The one thing that I've noticed a lot of fans on Twitter is that most people really want Zane Parekh specifically because he's a right defenseman. And I do think he would be a fantastic pick. I would be very happy if the Sens picked him, but I do think it's a little bit of an oversight to be like, oh, we really need right D, so let's draft a right D, when really he would take 2 to 3 years to even get to his rookie season in the NHL. And the thing is that we need right D right now. We need to be solving that issue in trade or free agency, which we'll get to in a later video when we talk about other roster moves that the Sens could do. But it's like, yeah, getting a right hand D would be great for this team's positional depth, but we need to solve that issue with like NHLers who can play right now too. So if we passed on a guy like Parekh and took someone else at another position, I wouldn't be too bothered about it.
Yeah, especially with just how empty this team's list of high-end prospects is at this point. Between, pretty much all their top picks graduating to the NHL team now and trading away a whole bunch of first round picks. There isn't a whole lot to be excited about as far as the AHL team goes or prospects go. Like they have a few players that I think will be full-time NHLers, but no players that are really of note. And I think because of that as well, just take the best player available and hope for the best in a few years down the line and see if they all make the team. Who knows? I do think, I mean, drafting is hard, obviously. This is another thing we got to talk about as well. I saw a report they're like looking to like cut the draft down by a few
Oh
rounds.
yeah, that was interesting.
We can talk about that later as well. But I do think, yeah, with a team like Ottawa where you're not going to get anyone who's going to make an immediate impact, and you are just desperate for any solid prospects in the system, just across the board, best player available, and hope that someone that you have ranked 15th falls to you at 25th or something like that, and just I don't know. I mean, we're not the pros, right? Like we're not the ones running the team, but I just think it's a no-brainer to go best player available through this whole draft. Just try and restock the cupboards a little bit.
Like at first, I was like, oh, I don't really want Dickinson. I don't really want Boom because if that's how you pronounce his name, by the way, I don't really know. Zeev Boom. Do you think I've pronounced that correctly, or I really have no clue. I'll have to learn the name if the Sens end up drafting him. But point is, I was originally like, oh, I really don't want one of these top lefty prospects because we already have Sanderson, we already have Shabbat, we already have Chikrin. But, one of those guys, Shabbat or Chikrin, might be on the way out this summer, specifically Chikrin, potentially. And again, like I was saying, it'll take 2 to 3 years for these guys to even make the NHL.
Yeah.
And but in 3 years, who knows if Shabbat will still be around either? It could be the type of thing where you're looking to get ready to replace him, or if you have a left defenseman prospect that you draft at this seventh pick that is just such a blue chipper that looks like he's going to be really good, you can then eventually move out Shabbat, even if he's still a good player, and have that new kid come in and take his place, and then you save some cap room. So even if we do end up picking a lefty, I think I've made peace with that. I think it could still end up being a good option if they're the best player available.
Yeah, that's something we can get into later. I don't know how far we want to look out on these off-season videos, but definitely something worth talking about is, what is Shabbat's longevity on this team as far as probably playing behind Sanderson, maybe even as soon as this year,
Mm-hmm.
consistently this upcoming season. Um, so unless you can teach one of them to play on the right side, it's going to be tricky to fit that many. I mean, we've had this conversation as Sens fans forever with Shabbat, Chikrin, and Sanderson all playing the left side quite a bit this past year. Um, yeah, and maybe this is because I've just like been trying to talk myself into this just to be okay and happy with whatever pick they make. But I genuinely do not care who they pick as far as the position goes. I'll get mad if they're like, this guy was ranked 22nd, they're taking him
Mm-hmm.
seventh. Then I'll get mad.
Yep.
A little, like just trade down at least, please. But as far as, if the player that you take at seven is supposed to go right around there and it feels like a good value pick, I don't care what the position is. And again, maybe that's just me trying to talk myself into being happy with whatever they do this draft. I need to feel good about this team at least heading into free agency. So um yeah, I am, maybe not the most exciting opinion to have on a video where we're trying to talk about the draft and throw opinions out there. Just take a decent value pick because as far as this team goes, I'm really not concerned about positional need at
Mm-hmm.
all.
And I think it makes sense too, like you're saying, unless it ends up being a Tyler Boucher style pick where the guy's ranked way lower, I think in
Yeah.
the end everyone will be pretty happy as long as they pick someone who's ranked like within the top 15, even if it's a reach by a few spots. Just because a lot of these prospects from sort of the 5 to 15 range seem really interchangeable. Like every time I look at a new draft ranking from whatever source, they're
Hmm.
always the players are always shifting around. Like we've seen guys like Carter Yakimchuk get ranked anywhere from like 12 to 3. So there's a
Yeah.
huge discrepancy, and there's going to be teams that really value certain players over others. And I do think it's the type of draft where we could see like a surprising order. And there's not really like a consensus, maybe not too surprising because there isn't like a huge consensus order throughout the top 10, but there could be some guys going way higher than expected and some guys lower than expected, especially like Ivan Demidov. I don't think he makes it to the Sens pick at 7, but he is a candidate to slide down the draft too. So I feel like as long as it's not a huge reach and it's someone in that top 15, I'm going to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty. Oh, I don't know. I'm hoping I'm not speaking anything to existence. I was gonna say I think it's gonna be a pretty tough deal to piss off Sens fans with this pick. I'm hoping that's the case. Like
Yeah.
it feels like it should be easy to do something right here, I
Yeah,
think.
definitely. That's the thing. Hopefully we
So
don't
we'll see.
speak a surprising pick into existence. Hopefully we don't manifest it here. We're
Yeah.
like, yo, there's no way they could mess it up and piss off all the fans. It would be very difficult to do because it seems like
Yeah.
you can't really go wrong where the Sens are picking, but who knows? Who knows? This team always surprises us. All I have to say is at least it's not Pierre Dorion at the helm anymore. It's a fresh set of eyes in management. A lot of fresh new eyes in management as well. Like they've had a lot of new guys coming in other than Steve Staios, so they're starting to flesh out the management group, which is really encouraging.
Yeah. Just don't look at pick number 7 and be like, hey, who's the highest ranked 6'5" or above player and go with, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like just
if
let's be smart about it.
with the size bias, I feel like if Anton Silyev or Caden Lindstrom are down at 7, those are probably obvious picks. Just if Steos is on that sort of size bias, and our if our amateur scouts feel that way, because those are the big boys, those are the tall guys in this draft.
Yeah. And even then I'm fine with like
Still
they're
really good
ranked
players.
appropriately, you know? Yeah, like and again because the draft is just who knows where this goes. And exactly like you said, like 5 through 15 is flip-flopping all the time. Like people it's so up to interpretation on those ones, which kind of makes it a bit difficult for the Sens being on the higher end of that 5 through 15 spot where,
Hmm.
like, they maybe the person who's the, kind of, like unanimous 14th overall pick, the Sens have it like 5 and they're psyched to get him at 7. Like you never know, but I'll try my best not to read into it too much if they do go slightly off the board. Just if you're going off the board by more than like 5 picks, like just try and trade down, please.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially since we have another pick later in the first round, which we should get into as well. Full transparency, I don't think either of us have really paid too much attention to the draft rankings for the end of the first round. So I don't think either of us can sit here and say, oh, we should definitely pick this guy with number 25, the Boston first round pick. But it is a consideration that if they want to go off the board at number 7, you should probably trade down, especially because you also have another later first round pick too. So when like either take someone at 7 or trade up from that other pick at 25, right? If you really want to reach for someone who's ranked like 10 to 20, then try to trade up with the other pick maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, I don't know. That could be a good move as well, if depending on how they want to go about it. If they don't love anyone at that 25%, I'm just looking at some of the names that are kind of hovering around that 25 spot. And like, I mean, purely just based on, stats from last season, there's some really interesting players to look at here. But maybe, yeah, like we can kind of get into this a little bit more later on with a future video talking about, like moves that the team is going to make. But, there's a few question marks like, do you move? I mean, there's been obviously a lot of talk about, Chikrin being the piece to go out and maybe get a goalie. I think I'd prefer Chikrin going for a player to play immediately rather than him being the centerpiece and like, getting a middle first round pick kind of thing as like the main piece coming back in that. But it is worth thinking about that the team, does kind of have that flexibility of as far as, like players that they're that there's talk about moving, that we're going into this thinking the Sens are picking 7 and 25. Like it's entirely possible that that completely changes on draft day. So I don't want to get like too deep into, you know, who's around at 25 because that could change. Knowing the NHL, it's gonna be boring and it won't. But like for instance, the first name that pops out to me is Tarek Paraskak. I'm butchering that name. Apologies to Tarek there. But with Prince George this season, 105 points in 68 games.
Okay, and he's ranked that
Um
low.
and he's ranked that low.
Interesting.
He's actually, yeah, so just all that says on elite prospects is high-end quick possession player capable of both setting up plays and finishing them. He doesn't just get open, but constantly adjust his positioning to be in the perfect spot with perfect timing. Now that sounds amazing, but when you go through the rankings here, he's ranked anywhere from 13 to 77. Like this,
77? What the hell?
yeah, consensus rank is around 27. But yeah, you got 36, 27, 13, 26, 39, 32. Like he's all over the place. Mostly in that like low 20s to low 30s, mid 30s kind of spot. Um and this is a whole other thing too. It's just like looking at these, like it is wild, the fact that people can come to like a consensus draft ranking because opinions are just so varied. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and again, if you pick a player who should be going in that area, I'm fine with it. I have zero expectations going to the 25th overall pick. Um, that player is always uh going to be associated with the DeBrincat trade, which is
Yeah, that's
unfortunate.
right. That's right.
Completely unfair to do that, but that's just going to be what happened because everyone loves seeing how trades evolve over the years. So, I'm just begging Sens fans, please do not compare this player. Like, if like the Sens are going to take a stay-at-home defenseman, and they're going to be comparing that player to DeBrincat for
Oh
some reason.
God.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a nightmare. So if we could just
Yeah.
please not do that, that would be
Whoever we pick
great.
there has to be the guy to win us the trade, Charlie. We have to win the
You're
trade. So
right.
so
You're
whoever
right.
it is, he's going to be an amazing player, right? The fan base is gonna hype him up no matter what, just because we want to say that we won the trade.
Yeah, because well, I don't know. Dominic Kubalik could be that guy.
Yeah, we could always re-sign him. We could bring him back and play him with Tim
Yeah,
Stützle. Maybe then he could score more than 10 goals. I don't how many did he have? He had like 4 assists the whole season. I don't know.
something like that. Yeah.
Fucking brutal.
Anyway, yeah, just please don't put too much pressure on this 25th overall pick because of the way that the Sens came about getting that pick.
Mhm.
Um, that's my analysis.
Yeah.
Is it could be anybody. Wow. What
Yeah,
a
I'm kind of the mind that even though you don't want to be picking for positional need in the first round, usually since we have two first round picks, I kind of feel like if we take a forward at number 7, I would kind of like to see a D at 25 just to sort of get one of each, or
just
vice
some
versa.
balance, yeah.
Vice versa, if it's a D at 7, then maybe a forward later on, for a bit of balance because I feel like this team needs help at every position. I would like to see a forward and a D added to the prospect pool with first round picks because our prospect pool doesn't have a lot of first round picks anymore. As you said earlier, with how we've just been trading them away, trading them for Chikrin, trading them for DeBrincat, and not really getting great returns on those trades either. So we got to bulk up the prospect pool wherever we can. And even though it wouldn't be a problem to take 2 forwards in the first round or 2 defensemen in the first round, either of those would be good because then that end of your prospect pool is just strengthened even more. I'd like to see a little bit of a balance if possible, but I don't have any super strong opinions on any of the guys who would be in the 25 range. So if they pick a forward, if they pick a D, I can't be like too harsh or too hyped either way.
Yeah, the only player that comes to mind around that range, and 25 might still be a reach a little bit, and this is only because I've been to a handful of 67s games this year. Henry Muse looked really good,
Mm-hmm.
defenseman for the 67s, 61 points in 65 games. Plus minus doesn't matter, but a plus 16 for all of you, old school plus minus people. If you vote for awards, he had plus 16. I want you to know that. And yeah, he might still be on the board for that early second round pick for the Sens. But again, like the only reason he comes to mind is because I watched him play a lot this season, and I liked what I saw. But again, I can't compare him to anybody else in that range because I really didn't watch anybody else play consistently unless they were in Ottawa playing the 67s. So I'm very uninformed in that way, I guess. But
Hmm. The thing I like about him, either at that 25th pick or if he falls to our second round pick, is like I said, a lot of fans want Parek as the offensive right handed D. If we don't go that route at number 7, or if he's off the board before then, this is a similar player archetype later in the draft. Obviously, he doesn't have as high a potential. Maybe he's not as dynamic. I'm sure there's some nuances in their games that make them different players, but they both are offensive minded right handed D, and he's a local guy from Ottawa and played for the
mhm.
67s, so I would be really happy to see him picked.
Yeah, consolidated rankings has him at 36. Sen's second round pick is 39. So there's some potential there. Who knows? I mean, like who doesn't? The other thing too is you have to keep in mind, what every other team is looking for, and they see a big high scoring right shot defenseman. And is that going to make it, through that far into the second round? Probably not. And again, that's maybe me putting too much stock into right shot defensemen, but that's what every team does is they put way too much stock into
Yeah,
right shot defensemen.
exactly.
So it's a balancing. If the Sens take him at 25, I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I'm fine with that.
Hmm. And yeah, I think that about does it for our thoughts on the draft. I'm really excited, especially because there isn't such a consensus draft ranking. We really don't know who we're gonna end up getting at number 7. It could be a handful of guys. It could be a player from pretty much any position. So I don't know. I'm really excited. We're probably going to come back with some draft reaction after the draft, I would
Oh,
think.
for sure.
Haven't exactly planned that out yet, but we're going to be pumping out the off-season content here for Game Over Ottawa for sure.
Yeah, and that's the 20 is the draft the 27th and 28th?
I know that the
Or
first
is it
round is a
28,
Friday,
29?
so I think it's 28,
So probably so
29.
28, 29. And I think they said that it's that the round two is going to be because another thing to keep in mind too is the draft is in Vegas at the Sphere, which is
That's right.
wild. Um, and I believe I saw that round two starts 8:30 a.m. on Saturday.
Is that local time?
Yeah,
So over here it would be like 11:30.
11. It'd be awesome for us. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. So that's going to be brutal for
Yeah.
everyone out
Brutal
there.
for
GMs
everyone
aren't,
who's
I mean,
in
I don't
Vegas.
think anyone's sleeping that night. I don't think GMs are going to get any sleep that
No.
night. But yeah. So okay, sweet. So that's like we're just over. I don't want to like date this or anything, but we're right around a 2 week countdown to the draft. So that's gonna be fun. I wonder if we'll I don't know if people want to get together. I don't mean to pitch this when no one else is around, but I wonder if we can convince anyone to do a live first round game over show.
Potentially, we'll see. That could
Interesting.
be in the works for sure. Let us know in the comments if you would be interested in that for sure.
Perfect. That's your hard hitting draft analysis from Charlie and Mon.
Hmm. And coming later on this channel is going to be some more offseason previews, going to be going over forwards, defense, and goaltending, what we think the Sens need to do at each of those positions. Going to be a few separate videos, kind of spaced out up until the draft and up until free agency as well. Free agency is just a couple days later after the draft, so probably all of that will come before the draft. But basically, that's the plan for the start of the new content on this channel. So we hope you subscribe and look forward to those videos as well.
Yeah, plenty to come. A lot more off-season content compared to the last couple of years. So keep an eye out for that. Those who me, I don't know. I hope there's a lot to talk about. We can hope for that.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
there's a lot to talk about before the team does anything, and then hopefully the team will give us even more to talk about and not just be like a really quiet off season.
That'll be brutal. I don't know if I'm hoping for big moves, but I think this is gonna be a summer of some big moves. Something
Mm-hmm.
has to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Something has to give. We need something interesting.
Yeah, and you can catch us talking about all these amazing moves that will change the team forever in the next couple of videos here on the channel where we look at I don't know, like you said, what we want them to do and what we think they'll do, and which are probably two different things. But we'll get into that in the next couple of videos.
Thanks for watching, everyone.